Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zach and Sean and Ryan are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 47, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zaki Hasan, and I'm joined once more by my good friend Brian Hall.
Hey there. How you doing, Zaki?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Unfortunately, Sean Coyle is not with us this episode. We're hoping everything's okay with Sean, but he's a busy man, and so life goes on, and we must, as I said last time, soldier on.
Yeah.
So Brian, did you ever end up listening to that song?
Oh, no, I forgot. Yeah. No, I did not. The one that I thought you were making up?
Yes, I'm not making it up. It's St. Elmo's Fire, for goodness sake.
I totally believe you.
So Brian, you've been keeping pretty busy with work, and of course you work at Bob's Burgers.
I do.
And I've been meaning to watch Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, it's and along those lines, it's really cool to be a part of a show that you're proud of. You know, a lot of times you have friends that work in entertainment and they work on a movie, and it's like not necessarily a movie they're proud of. It's just it's a paycheck, and then you move on to the next movie. But I'm really proud of Bob's Burgers.
Share a little bit. What are the movies you're not proud of?
You know, I'll say this. I don't think there's any one that I've straight out like been embarrassed of. There's ones I know that aren't so great, but and I think we've told the story about those on the show before. But yeah, I nothing that I'm embarrassed to tell my parents I worked on. Nothing that I'm embarrassed, for my friends to catch on HBO or something. Yeah, no, it's been good. And Bob's Burgers, I think I liked this show before I worked on it, so I'm really happy to be able to recommend it to my friends. So, but we just had our season finale this past Sunday, which would be the 18th.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 18th. So anyway, but it'll be in rerun, so I recommend it. It's on Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Prime. Yeah, check it out.
I will absolutely check it out. Now, you have not had that much time to watch many movies, but you have been watching some television, I understand?
Yeah, I feel like I've been almost overwhelmed with television. When Breaking Bad ended, I was like, well, that's the end of television for Brian. I just felt like I had no shows anymore. And then all of a sudden, I feel like buried in them. Watching Game of Thrones, which I don't have too much to add to the conversation, but all to say it's, still good. I haven't read the books, but I'm enjoying the show. What's been a nice palate cleanser after such a brutal, violent, sexually charged show is Silicon Valley, which is this 30-minute Mike Judge sitcom about this guy who invents a really cool app, and it takes place in Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. And just the sort of journey that it puts this guy on where, he gets offered in the first episode, he gets offered $10 million for the idea. And it's this decision, do I take the $10 million or do I try to break out on my own and I could have $10 billion if this thing works out right, and each episode is like a new sort of decision that this kid has to make with this really great idea. And even though I know nothing about Silicon Valley or that world, there's a lot to relate to, I think, with the sort of journey he's on and feeling a little out of your depth, and it's just kind of nice, I watch a lot of dark shows and violent shows, and it's just kind of a nice little 30-minute escapism, and it makes you laugh, and so yeah, I like Silicon Valley a lot.
Is it on HBO?
It's on HBO, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I will not be watching that anytime soon. Now, 24. Have you been watching the new 24?
I have. Have you?
I have not. I'm about 7 seasons behind 24. How many years?
Oh, I thought you'd kept up, actually.
I made it through the second season, and then I didn't, stop liking it or anything. I just gave up the ghost because I'll tell you why. I think my wife and I, we had our first right around the time we would have had been making time to watch season 3.
Sure.
And then at that point, we have no time anymore.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I always thought that was something that you had. I didn't know if you had made it all the way, but I thought you had kept up with it.
I don't know if you remember this. I'm the one who got you into 24.
Oh yeah, the only reason. Well, and I worked at the Fox lot
Yeah, right.
Which is the cool thing if you've never been to a studio lot. The best thing about being on a studio lot is the studio store because they have all the movies and television shows that studio produces at like a crazy discount.
Right.
And so Zaki was like, Brian, you work at the Fox lot. You have no excuse not to buy 24. He's like, it's a blind buy. Just do it. And I was like, Zaki, don't tell me how to live my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an awkward few months there.
And so then finally I went in and bought it, and I started it, and I was in college at the time. And I was like, this show's really good. And then my roommates started watching it, and they're like, this show's really good. And we tore through the whole – I think I might have told this story, but I tore through it, went through my whole dormitory. Everyone was passing the discs around trying to figure out who had disc 1, 2, 5. And it became this sort of phenomenon for like a month. Got heavily into it. So
It's hilarious.
So anyway, that's the concept.
I remember,
I'm a big fan.
So now they've brought back 24 as a miniseries, which we talked about it a little bit on this show. In fact, what's your take on the new 24? Is it improved?
I wouldn't say it's improved, but that's not a slight against it. I think the first thing, the word that comes to mind is familiar.
Okay.
And you can kind of take that how you want. I mean, there's a comfort in familiar, but there's also I've kind of familiar with this. I've seen this,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting because TV has evolved leaps and bounds since 24 has been on the air.
Right.
I mean, at the time, 24 was groundbreaking. Like, it didn't feel like you were watching television. You were watching a 24-hour movie. And,
right.
They would kill main characters. They'd pull the rug from underneath you. The violence was crazy for television. I mean, it was just, the show was shocking. And that's what made it so compelling, is you had to watch the next episode. And so as it comes back, it's sort of like, now we're talking about Game of Thrones, and now we're talking about shows like Homeland and Breaking Bad and all of these things. And so we've gotten a little used to being shocked on television. So I'd say the show doesn't feel as like a punch in the face as it used to, but at the same time, I feel like everything that worked for the show is back. And I think the one of the main strengths about 24 was they would introduce all of these new characters every season, and somehow, I have no idea what wizardry these writers have going for them, but they'd introduce a new character, and you're immediately like, oh, I get that guy, I like him.
Okay.
And I feel like they've already pulled that off. I could talk about 90 minutes straight.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So needless to say, what you're saying is that if you're a fan of 24, you're gonna dig what we're getting so far. I think so.
And then Jack Bauer, you're sort of like, again, like, is he gonna be able to do anything? Like, he's done so much shocking stuff before. Is there anything he can do that can, surprise me? And maybe not like you used to be surprised, but there's still been a couple episodes where as soon as something happened, I actually texted my parents. I was like, Jack Bauer's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a 12-part series.
This is a 12-part series, which is kind of cool. I think it could almost be stronger for that, truncating it and just getting to the point a little earlier. And so, yeah.
So is this a one-shot deal, or are they planning to do more? Do you know?
I wonder if it succeeds, if they'll keep telling. It's kind of like a mini series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if this is a bit of a test.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Keanu Reeves. Why did I say Keanu Reeves? Kiefer Sutherland. No connection between the two really at all, right? Kiefer Sutherland has had a couple of failed series.
Yeah, he had that show where he was like, there was like some boy who was psychic or something.
Was it called Touch?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I'm sure he has no problem coming back to do his most successful character.
Yeah, he slips right back into it. So
yeah. Anyway, moving on, we do have something to talk about, continuing from a conversation we were having last week, which is you and I were both talking about the movie Chef, starring Jon Favreau, which we both ended up enjoying. I think another title for the movie should be Food Porn.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I had an opportunity to talk to Jon Favreau as part of a roundtable interview. So I wanted to play some of the highlights from that. So why don't we go ahead and do that?
What aspects of the character do you relate to? What's your personal connection in terms of the storyline?
Well, the biggest one is the relationship to the family and the balancing of family and career, and feeling that your career in the movie business will take you away from your family if you let it. So you have to create a balance. And the best way to do it, honestly, is to include your kids in what you do. So every step of the way of my training and filming this film, my kids were around. And we shot it in California, which is very rare nowadays. So I relate to that. I relate to the relationship with the son from both ends. I felt that way when I was a kid with my dad, and I feel that way with my three kids now that I'm the dad. So that was the part that was the most naturalistic for me. The cooking stuff felt like a character, and honestly, all of the outbursts and the fragility of ego, that's something that I've never suffered from in the way my character does in the film. He's very he's very aggressive and defensive, and I've always just gotten quiet and sad when people criticize me too harshly.
You, for the past few years, you've been doing kind of the blockbuster thing.
Yeah.
What was the impetus at this moment to transition back into something more personal?
I think it's on one hand, there's fear that you can't do it anymore. So I wanted to face that fear. I've been watching people like Louis C.K. and Lena Dunham and Larry David doing essentially a similar style to what I had been doing. You know, you write a character kind of based on you that you get to perform and explore through filmmaking. And they look like they're having a ball and they're doing great work, and I really enjoy watching their stuff. And part of me was like, imagining what my life would have been like had I not. And now's a time when people can do well doing that. Between the internet and cable, there's really good specialized programming that allows for personalities that don't have to be altered to fit the norms of society. You can be weird as long as you're inspired, And I love their shows because they're so personal and specific to their own tastes. And then working on movies, I was supposed to do Jersey Boys. That fell apart, so that was a bit frustrating. I was supposed to do Magic Kingdom. That didn't move. That's not moving forward anytime soon. So there was a frustration there. I had directed 2 pilots, and pilots in general, I had done Revolution, I had done About a Boy. And pilots tend to be, you're like a small fish in a small pond when you're doing a pilot. You have to listen to everybody's input, be it the studio, the producers. And as a director, that's part of your gig. You can't really get frustrated at it. That's the deal when you're signing up. And in commercials, you're even lower down the totem pole. So I think it was a combination of all those things that made me just want to, do an acoustic set that nobody could give me notes on, and just go to a club and play my music and sing from the heart. And that's what this movie is. This movie is me scaling it down as small as I needed to cast whoever I wanted, shoot it where I wanted, write what I wanted, and edit the way I wanted to. And it just was amazing. And I wish I could come up with another script and do another one. I just don't write that way. I haven't written like this in Swingers, and it's almost 20 years ago. So when it hit me, I figured I better honor it because this doesn't happen that often. So I really had a great time. I'm looking forward to doing Jungle Book, which is a bigger film. But boy, I really want to do some version of this again at some point. I can't remember anything being as fun.
Just switching gears a little bit, when you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
yes,
do you feel a little parental pride that you were there?
I do. I definitely do. There's aspects that are beyond me that I don't totally get, like when you combine certain villains and certain heroes, who would win, who would lose, like the inter-hero politics I don't totally get as good as like Joss does. But I really do feel a strong sense of connection to the tone, because I think the tone of Iron Man is really what ended up being inherited by all the movies that follow. If you remember, there was Hulk and Iron Man the same summer, and it's almost like Hulk's been rebooted with the Avengers to fit the Iron Man universe, with the different casting and the different tone, and then also the casting. If you look at even like Winter Soldier, it's built off to some degree the foundation of Shield, of Scarlet and Nick Fury and Sam Jackson. So it feels like they're all like, it must be how an old lady feels at Christmas with great grandchildren all around her that she doesn't know all their names, but but she feels really connected to them. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel, because it was I remember the equivalent of just coming overseas on the boat with just your suitcase by your side and no prospects, because that's what Marvel felt like when it first started. There was if we failed, the whole thing would have gone under. And then for it to succeed to the point that it's spawned all these great other franchises with all these other talented filmmakers bringing their personality to it while maintaining, I think, what was important to me when I started it. So I think it's a bit surreal more than it makes me proud, because I feel connected to it, but I also feel very apart from it, because. When I was doing Happy Hogan on the set, and they could not have been nicer. I was an executive producer of Iron Man 3. It's so different than being on the set when you're building the sets and you're controlling the whole thing.
Right.
But it was a good dress rehearsal for what life feels like as you get older, and you're treated with kindly and with respect. But you're not a lot to ask of you. You get to kind of proudly look on and just beam at what's come after you.
So the conflict between doing what other people want you to do and doing what you want to do was highlighted, especially like with the chef situation. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that there's crossover between that and the movie industry? Is that kind of where you got that from?
I think there is. I think anytime you have somebody, you require a lot of money to do your art or your craft, you're going to have to deal with people who have a lot of money, and they're usually not artists. They're usually very pragmatic business people, and they may be patrons of the arts and appreciate art, but they're thinking with a different section of their brain than an artist who's a little bit more spontaneous and of the moment. And it's that balancing act that's it's in architecture and the Fountainhead. It's the Sistine Chapel. It's everything. But for me, the movie and the food business is pretty closely related, because in both cases you're dealing with critics and on the online blogosphere, and you're dealing with customers, and you're dealing with patrons and owners. And so I started off imagining it's kind of like the movie business, but then through my research I realized that the food business has its own specific peccadillos that are very different from the movie business. But at least it allowed me to relate to the character through experiences I've had.
And there we go.
I've been a fan of his since Swingers, which is his first venture out there. And you just want to... Going way back, 96 or 7 or something, and you just want to think that this guy is cool. Like, this is the guy you want to hang out with. And then he's gone on, making these small pictures that you really love, and then he went on to do Iron Man and all these bigger movies, and you just hope he's still that guy you want to hang out with. And then hearing him speak, and he just seems like a cool guy. Yeah.
But we're joined by a very special guest who has just jumped onto the mic, Hasan Minhaj. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is fantastic. So Hasan is a friend of the show, because we had him on talking up his MTV series FAILOSOPHY. This was maybe episode 3 or 4 of our show.
Yeah. That was a while ago. That was like a little over a year ago.
That was wow. Yeah, wow, maybe a year and a half. Yeah, so very excited to have you back, and this is something I've been wanting to do. Now, Hasan, you've got a new project right now, Standup Planet. Maybe you can share that with our listeners. Just going on.
Yeah, I got to do this wonderful project called Standup Planet, which is kind of, think of it like Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations meets stand-up comedy. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded this series where they wanted to use new, interesting narratives to talk about social issues around the world, and they thought that comedy is such a great medium to tell stories, for people to share their stories. So you start with different comedians from the stage talking about race, politics, gender issues, all sorts of social and economic disparity, and then follow their lives follow the joke into their lives to see where it comes from. And there's all these amazing comedy scenes that are booming up around the world in Egypt, in India, in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Brazil, and comedians are taking the stage and talking about some really amazing, powerful stuff. So it was my job to kind of use my lens, being a first-generation immigrant to this country, to go back to India and then go to South Africa and to meet the comedians there that are really kind of taking the stage and blazing a new trail for, cultural and political dialogue in their respective countries, and follow the joke into their lives.
Wow.
Nice, and you've you've interviewed some really interesting personalities in as you're working on this project.
Yeah, the goal was to go over there and to see a few things. Number one is like, where do these jokes come from? So like when we were in India, there's these jokes, there's these comedians. One, his name is Tanmay Bhatt, and he does this joke about how 54% of the population in India goes to the bathroom outside. So despite the fact that it's developing global power, this developing country that's becoming a global power, India, that's having this huge technological boom where the majority of the population actually has smartphones, you'll still see over half of the population going to the bathroom outside. So Tanmay has this joke where you'll go to the train tracks and you'll see a guy squatting over Winnie the Pooh style taking a dump, but swiping on his phone, playing Angry Birds. And comedy is one of those things where you can like talk about that in a way that's real. You know what I mean? Like, we're laughing at that, but I feel like that's such a great way to jump off in your dialogue rather than poverty porn. You know what I mean? With these UNICEF commercials where it's like, oh, for 17 cents a day, feel sorry for so-and-so. You're not humanizing the story, but I feel like documentary films and stand-up comedy specifically, a lot of times you see something on stage and you go, haha, that's funny. But if you follow the joke into people's lives and be like, wow, you really lived that. And all the great comedians, Pryor, Carlin, Cosby, they talk about things that actually happen in their lives, and what a powerful way. What if you could actually see, the brothel that Richard Pryor grew up in, or you could see Enos, Bill Cosby's son, that he talks about in his act. Those jokes become so much more powerful, and that was the goal of Stand-Up Planet. So if a comic in South Africa is talking about apartheid, let's go to the township in Soweto where his family went through the whole movement and the freedom struggle, and we actually visit them in their house and talk to their family members and see where these jokes came from.
And you got to hang out with Bill Cosby recently, right?
Yeah, so I performed with them in India and South Africa. Then I brought them back here to the States, and they got to hang out with my friends that were previously set up by Pivot and PBS and stuff. Bill Cosby. So Bill Cosby, Norman Lear, and Carl Reiner. And and man, dude, it was a life-changing experience, man. Like, just to hang out with legends. It was unreal. It was unreal.
Now you've been doing the stand-up thing for how long now?
Almost 10 years now. It'll be 10 years in September. Yeah.
So, what did you learn from this experience that surprised you?
Few things. I think one of the best things that I got out of traveling was this. I feel like a lot of times in the States, since we are the dominant power in the world, there's a level of ethnocentrism that we have, in the sense that we export our soft power to the rest of the world. So it's actually great that I'm talking about this on your guys' show, because we export Justin Bieber and Godzilla and Transformers to the rest of the world. However, how much of that do we absorb? How much of, how many foreign films do we get to watch here? How much foreign music do we listen here that makes top 40 radio? Not a whole lot. So that dialogue isn't a two-way street. What I learned, for the most part, there are people, I shouldn't generalize, there are people that are very aware and savvy of what's happening in the rest of the world, but I'm saying in popular culture, it's not there in American popular culture. But what I learned is that I think that dialogue should be more two-way. Just as much, just as how comics in India and South Africa learned a lot from Louis and Bill Burr and Chris Rock and Bill Cosby and Norman Lear, they learned from their legacy. There's so much innovative and creative work that they're doing in South Africa and India, and they're pushing boundaries so much more. I'll give you an example. In South Africa, black comedians are on stage talking about apartheid. They are performing, the oppressed group is performing in front of the oppressor, the Afrikaners, and yet everyone is laughing. Here in the States, that dialogue is much tougher to have. everybody has their PC pants on super tight, and the last thing anyone wants to do is end up in a HuffPo article calling them racist. But dialogue is important. It pushes the culture forward. And that wound of apartheid is very fresh. 94, that Band-Aid was ripped off in 94, and we still have trouble talking about things like, the war in Iraq, the war against terror, the war in Vietnam. We're still trying to make sense of that stuff, and everybody's kind of walking on eggshells in a lot of times. I think we can learn from them and be like, we need more forums to open up dialogue and have safe dialogue,
Yeah.
The second thing that I learned, man, was from when we came back and we interviewed the legends. Norman Lear and Carl Reiner are in their 90s. And Carl Reiner, if you watch the documentary, was still cracking jokes. The dude is 92, man, and he is not about that sweatpant life. And, my dad is, in his 60s, and he's just kind of like, I'm just going to kick back, watch some ZTV and call it, And Carl is still like, dude, I'm still about the jokes. I'm still about the craft. I'm still about performing, and that journey is never over. And so me, being a young comedian and seeing him, I'm learning that it's like, dude, this is a marathon. Being creative and doing creative work and being funny is a lifelong journey.
Well, and just to pick up on what you were talking about, I mean, you probably gained a lot of notoriety because of some of the comedy you're doing to point out some of these sort of disproportionate depictions of culture and whatnot. And I'm thinking of the Abercrombie and Fitch video that you did.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the Ashton Kutcher critique that you did. I was wondering if you could talk about both of those.
Well, I'm part of the sketch group called Goatface Comedy, and basically what happened was a few years ago, me and a couple comedian friends of mine, we actually met in we just would all see each other in like casting offices. We're all performers of color. I'm Indian. One of the other performers is Afghan American. The other is Greek and Iranian, and then the other performer is also Indian American. And we would go out for all these roles where I felt like a lot of times we were being pigeonholed into a specific type of role. And let's just say it's basically diet versions of the brown guy you see on Big Bang Theory. Just a lot of that type of stuff. Where it's kind of a dickless, docile, doesn't know how to love women. Women don't like him, and his accent is the punchline. You're not a humanized, full-fledged character, And we were like, look, we're going out for a lot of these roles. We should create our own stuff. And so we kind of banded together Power Ranger style, and we were just like, let's make our own sketches and do this stuff. And so The Truth with Hasan Minhaj is a web series that I do, just kind of like our version of The Daily Show, our version of Weekend Update, where I take a specific topic that's happening in the news that resonates with me, and I talk about it for 2 to 3 minutes. And then we also do Man on the Street pranks, and that's where we did the Abercrombie and Fitch prank video. Basically what happened is a few years ago, Abercrombie has been notoriously in the news for not having a diverse hiring practices. And so they don't hire a lot of people. They have a very specific look. So what I decided to do is I cast my own Abercrombie door greeters. If you ever go to Abercrombie and Fitch during the holidays, there's a bunch of like shirtless dudes with like 16 packs standing in front of the store telling you to buy clothes even though they're not wearing any. So we were like, look, there's no people of color, or there's no diversity in like even in size and shape and color at their store. So I reached out to a bunch of my friends. We got like a super fat bearded dude. I put on a turban with a Santa hat on it. There was a guy in a wheelchair. We had a midget. We had a small person. We had a gay guy. We all bum rushed Abercrombie and Fitch and danced and tried to audition to be Abercrombie boys, but we were arrested, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. But you got it on film, and you turned it into a little...
We got it on film, yeah. I won't say, I'm not going to add to my street cred, we were arrested by the mall police, so we weren't arrested by the real police.
Paul Blart.
We are banned from the Glendale Galleria for life.
Wow.
And my photograph was taken. But the photograph is of me with the beard and a turban with the Santa hat on it, which is great.
And that video is up on YouTube, I think.
It's on YouTube. It's called Abercrombie Door Greeters 2.0.
There you go. And okay, so Standup Planet. Where can people check that out?
You can catch it on PBS, on Link TV, on KCET, and Pivot. If you don't have any of those channels, you can check it out streaming right now on standupplanet.org. It's streaming for free. You have no excuse. Even if you're stealing your neighbor's internet, you can still watch Stand-Up Planet.
You shouldn't be stealing, but before you give it up, watch the documentary.
Yeah, you shouldn't be stealing, but I'm saying you have literally no excuse even if you are stealing.
Well, so Hasan, we're going to be talking about some headlines. Can you stick around with us?
Yeah. What have I missed? Have we gotten into the meaty stuff?
No, we're about to dive in. So
Let's dive in.
Now this was an interview that I read a couple days ago. Viggo Mortensen. We're all fans of his, right? I think we have to be fans of Viggo Mortensen because of.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, I realize I've never mentioned my Viggo Mortensen story.
Oh, do tell.
Yes, I don't get to do very many star effing stories, so.
Zaki, you run into a lot of celebrities though. I see your Facebook.
Yeah, well, it's that's kind of one of the perks of doing this show and writing reviews is that I get to do some interviews and I'll tell you, I mean it's no doubt meet a lot of cool people. I met Viggo Mortensen 10 years ago last February, and that remains one of my cool like just surreal experiences because this was right after. Let's see, this is 2004. This is right after Return of the King had come out. This is mere months after Return of the King.
Okay.
And I was young enough where I would still be excited by movies, whereas 10 years later I've now battered by how many bad movies I've seen. So, but he was in town in the Bay Area to promote Hidalgo, which is the where he plays the cowboy. He goes to Arabia. So they were like, oh well, we need Arab press, we need Muslim press represented. So somehow. Through like a friend of a friend of a friend, I got drafted in, and my wife came with me, and we went downtown to interview him. And I was getting mic'd up and everything, and my wife was kind of like standing in the corner, and she's just, and we had just been married. We had been married not even 4 months at that time. And Viggo Mortensen, I'm like sitting down getting mic'd up, and he comes up to her, and he's like, "Hey, are you doing okay? Hey, you want me to get you a chair? Here, hold on a second, I'll get you a chair." And Viggo Mortensen walks across the room and picks up a chair and brings it to her. Everybody's like, "So what are you doing? What are you doing?" Because he's not supposed to be doing that. And so now I hear about it to this day. Viggo Mortensen got me a chair. What have you done for me?
Wow.
So no, so we had the interview and that was really cool. But the story continues because what ended up happening. So my wife at the time used to work for an organization called CARE, which Hasan, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my wife, having worked there, she gave the filmmakers her card, and then like maybe a week or so later, CARE put out like an alert, like, "Oh, we're concerned about this movie." And the movie people were like, "Well, we just met somebody from CARE, and she seemed fine with it, whatever." And so they ended up calling my wife's office, and they put my wife's office put them in touch with me, and I was like, "Well, hey, I'm happy to write a review or an article, whatever you guys want." I was like, "If you want, I can talk to Viggo some more and do a feature article." So they're like, "All right, let's see what we can do." And the next day, I'm at Kinko's of all places, and my phone rings, and Viggo Mortensen is on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was in Paris. It was like 2 a.m. over there. Talked for, I'm joking, 90 minutes.
Wow.
You guys talked for 90 minutes.
90 minutes. I spent 90 minutes on my phone in my car, in the backseat of my car, frantically scratching, my scribble hand.
Yeah, because you couldn't even record it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a laptop or anything like that, so I was on the phone like this and, writing like with my notebook balanced on my knee. So that's like my cool Viggo Mortensen story. But my point is, he's super cool. He is super cool. He genuine, just like a super humble guy.
That's always great to hear, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, especially somebody like him. You don't want, like, it's like we always hear about Bruce Willis and what it just like, not the most pleasant person on earth.
Yeah.
Right.
He's living on a planet Bruce. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. So anyways, to circle all this background, now Viggo Mortensen is definitely somebody who shoots straight when people ask him questions. So he gave an interview the other day to The Telegraph, and what came up, but of course his role in the Lord of the Rings movies. And let's just say he had some words about where Peter Jackson has gone since then.
Shooting from the hip. He's honest words.
That's the word. He pulls no punches, and he says, let's see here. I'm trying to find the money quote here. He says, here we go. He says, by the way, that the Fellowship of the Ring was the best of the three, in his opinion. He says, the second movie already started ballooning for my taste, and then by the third one, there were a lot of special effects. It was grandiose and all that, but whatever was subtle in the first movie gradually got lost in the second and third. Now with The Hobbit 1 and 2, it's like that to the power of 10. So I just want to say thank you, Viggo Mortensen, for agreeing with me. Because now, Brian, you have not seen the Hobbit movies, or you've seen the first one.
I have. I've seen both.
You've seen both of them.
Yeah.
Hasan, have you seen them?
Yes. Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Why did I enjoy? And I would love your guys' analysis of this as more of experts in this field than I am. Why did I enjoy? I enjoy the first three Lord of the Rings, and I just thought The Hobbit was so boring? Why did I I found it to be so whack.
Well, I agree with you, but Brian disagrees, I think.
No.
Oh. My opinion is because the Lord of the Rings is each movie is one book.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So, and each book is what, maybe 300 pages?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read them. I don't read. I'm a millennium kid. Each movie is taking a 300-page book and squishing it down. So that means that pacing and things like that are a lot of stuff is getting cut out. With the Hobbit trilogy, it's a 300-page book that they're turning into a 9-hour movie.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I remember reading The Hobbit when I was a kid. Like it wasn't that big. I was like, yeah, it's one book.
Right.
It wasn't like a 900-page book. It was like it was a long book, but it wasn't unreadable.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that because we've been talking about The Hobbit on this show from like a year before it came out. And
oh, wow.
Because originally it was going to be 2 movies, and then at the last minute they were like, oh, let's make it 3.
You know what? I hate when they do this. This Hollywood, let's just milk the cow because it's just giving us milk. Yeah. I felt like that was the downfall of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. The fact that Pirates of the Caribbean was the first movie was like good. It was fun. I think it got in the mid-70s on Rotten Tomatoes. Like it was just a fun movie. Keira Knightley was great. And they were just all like, it was a fun movie. Yeah. And then those middle movies, I remember, I think it was the second or third one, literally for an hour, Johnny Depp is like rolling around in that tumble thing for 45 minutes. Yeah. And I literally just imagine just Disney just counting the money of the opening weekend because it's gonna do well. And that's where I give movies that like don't currently exist as franchises that kind of enter the fray. I give them a lot of credit where I'm like, you guys have everything to lose here. But that's why I'm very critical of like the Transformer sequels, and I'm very critical of these things that become big summer blockbusters, and then they go, let's do 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Because to me, I'm like, I'm going to give you my money. I'm going to pay the full $15. ArcLight, this is your money. This is your money. I may even ball out and do the $18 3D experience, maybe the $22, and go at night and make it a whole event. The money is yours, but make it worth that money for me. Because those movies are so fun to see in theaters, you don't want to red box them, but then when you realize it, I kind of feel had when I walk out of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Pirates is a good example. I have not seen any of the Pirates movies other than the first one.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, but they keep making money. I mean, the last made more than $1 billion.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's the 4th film in the series. Most people tended to not like it, but it made buttloads of money.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they make a 5th one?
I'll be honest. Talking to my students, who are kind of the target audience for these Pirates flicks, Pirates feels at this stage the way The Matrix did after the 3rd one.
Interesting.
Where it's just like, are we still talking about this?
That's your students feel that way?
My students feel that way.
Oh, interesting.
What a huge drop off, by the way, between the first and the second Matrix. I just felt like they had such they had a revolutionary concept there. I don't know why. I don't know where they faltered. Was it in execution? I don't know what the theories are. I don't know enough about the behind the scenes of what happened, but I don't get it. Because I felt like the movie The Matrix reminded me of, where I said game changer, is the way Terminator 2 was for me. Terminator and Terminator 2. I go, this was a game changer for me, where I was like, you walk out and you're just like, wow, I've never thought of post-apocalyptic future, whatever life to be this way.
Yeah.
No, I agree. You know what's funny is I remember so around 2002, 2003, there was The Two Towers was out, or was coming out, and Matrix Reloaded was about to come out, and right in between them, or right before them, was Star Wars Episode 2. And I remember thinking at that time how it felt like Star Wars had been supplanted by Lord of the Rings and The Matrix as kind of being this relevant thing, and it had more to say. And the somewhat ironic thing about that is here we are 10, 12 years later. We're not really talking about The Matrix anymore. I mean, we talk about Lord of the Rings, but Star Wars is still Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars is still the king of the hill. I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, it's funny, too, because we've talked about how we feel like as revolutionary as the first Matrix film was, the sequels really damaged its reputation.
Yeah.
Like if you say you like The Matrix, you almost have to be like, but I hated sequels. You know what I mean? Like there's an addendum that like continually follows it. But like the first 3 Star Wars films are so strong that no matter how much people dislike the prequels or any other sort of stuff that, attaches itself to it, people still feel passionately about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Well, now, as we talk about big franchises, obviously another huge franchise was the Harry Potter saga, which spanned eight movies for Warner Brothers. Now, Brian, you brought this to my attention that Warner Brothers is planning to extend the Potter universe.
Yes, I suppose I did bring it to your attention. I may not be the best, most informed person on the Harry Potter world. I have not read the books. I saw the movies, thought they were aight. And
okay.
You thought Harry Potter movies were just all right?
Yes.
Okay.
And here's why. Because did you read the books?
Read them all.
Okay, exactly. I feel like whenever I'd watch a movie, I was like, okay, yeah, that was pretty fun, but I didn't understand why this person did that. They're like, oh, well, in the book, it's because this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't that in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like they had to excise so much stuff.
Did you read all the books?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like that really did prevent me from enjoying them as much as people who did. They almost feel like they supplant the books.
When you read the book, you're following Harry's entire year at Hogwarts. Right. So from page 1 to whatever, you start off at summer break, so to speak, with his family and Dudley and whoever, and you get that, and then he goes to Hogwarts and is hanging out with Ron and Hermione, and it's fall quarter, and he's always like, I swear something's going on, and everyone's like, Harry, you're wrong. Yeah. Nothing's going on. Come Act 3, which is in spring quarter or spring semester, we find out that full on chaos is ensuing at Hogwarts. That's in every movie. Yeah. So in the book, you get to really experience every semester or quarter, so to speak, and really live in it, But they're trying to cram a year's worth of someone's growth,
into a 2+ hour movie.
Yeah. You'll see literally, every movie will start with him at home, then him going on the train, then him arriving at school. It's literally, you're seeing, it's like a person going through a full grade in school. And it kind of sucks when I watch it. Not sucks, but because I understand what they're doing, is you can only do it in 2 hours or 2.5, 3 hours. I mean, you can't make a 4 hour. They're just, I don't know, unless you're a hardcore fan, you're not going to.
Well, the last one, though, they did make it, right.
Two films, yeah.
Two movies. Mm-hmm.
So that ends up being like a 5-hour adaptation of the book. Okay.
Right.
And I should say, it's not that I dislike them, because I did enjoy the experience, but I didn't glom onto them like a lot of people did. And I found that most people that did were people that had read the books.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
What books have you read where you went, the movie was better?
Where the movie was better than the book? Oh,
that's good. Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, honestly, I'll go with my all-time favorite movie, which is Planet of the Apes. It's based on a book called Monkey Planet by Pierre Boulle, and I actually read the book first before I saw the film, and I think the film is just a better way of telling that story, right? I don't know. Have you seen Planet of the Apes, the original one?
Yeah, it's great.
The book is like a good jump off point, but I just think the film does it better, you know. And actually, I would say Jaws. I would say Jaws is a better movie than I just think it's a more the cinematic experience is just more compelling when it comes to that story, you know.
Which created a lot of friction between the author and Spielberg. They had publicly minced words.
Oh, is that right? Peter Benchley? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. I actually,
Spielberg
in terms of Harry Potter, I've not.
It, right? Spielberg adapted it and changed it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff in the book that is just unessential.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Spielberg changed it per se. I think what he did was he said, "What do we need for the film?" And so he sort of pruned away a lot of the. You know, there's a I haven't read the book in a while, but what's his name? Hooper has like an affair with Brody's wife. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't need.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the story at all, the main story. But so Brian, what is the expansion of Harry Potter that they're doing?
Well, actually, it's interesting because it's not necessarily a sequel or prequel to Harry Potter, but it's there's like a book within the universe called Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Okay.
And so I guess it's within the realm of this universe, like another story that's going to take place. And Alfonso Cuaron, it sounds like, is pretty close to being attached to direct this thing, which I thought was really interesting. For him, I mean, after Gravity and Children of Men, which we just mentioned is the #1 sci-fi movie named by Rolling Stone, for him to go and direct like a franchise film.
Well, but he did the third Harry Potter.
Yes, right? Yeah. What was the third one?
Prisoner of Azkaban, right?
Azkaban, yeah, which people seem to regard as their favorite, right?
Well, Hasan, which one is your favorite? I haven't. By the way, I've just full disclosure, I've only seen the first Harry Potter.
Yeah, and Hasan, if you could comment on this book, I mean, maybe you probably know more about it.
Serious? Dude, I thought you were a huge cinephile.
I know, isn't that sad? I saw the first one and I fell asleep in the middle. I saw it opening night, fell asleep in the middle, and then a few years later I was like, all right, gonna try it again, and then I fell asleep at the same part, and I woke up at the same part. So I have no idea what happens in the middle.
You don't find Ron, Hermione, and Harry just compelling and cute. You don't rally behind them.
Well, it's not even it's not a judgment on the films. I think it's a judgment on me and my inability to moderate proper times to sleep. To be honest, I think
okay. So
I might be
the film.
I think I'm just borderline narcoleptic. So
got it.
So I own them. I own all the movies, and at this stage, honestly, it's like. I'm kind of like I'd like to watch them, but I'd like to read the books with my kids.
Oh, great. Okay, great.
You know, so at this stage, it's like that's basically what I'm waiting for. I'm like, well,
that seems to be the way to do it. Like you encourage, get them to read it and then watch the movie.
Are you familiar with the book that's in the universe of Hogwarts? It's their textbook.
Yeah.
So
is this something you look forward to then? Is this
it's called something? It's like I think the book that they read is called Hermione pulls it out and she's like it's Wizardring, a history or something like that, right? And it's about the history of wizards and how they all came to be and stuff like that. Is it referring to that specific textbook that Hermione pulls out?
Is that the book, Frank?
It says it's called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's inspired by a textbook used by Hogwarts students within the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I don't know. To me, a lot of that is about execution then, because Hogwarts, Harry Potter to me, all these great movies is I get attached to them by falling in love with the characters, and I'm willing to ride for them. To me, I don't get too caught up. I've said this all the time. One of my buddies, Pete Holmes, has this great joke where he goes, I go, why don't you? He has this joke. He goes, I hate fantasy films. I hate all that stuff. And I go and people go, why don't you like fantasy films? Because he goes, there's always this scene where they go, your powers don't work in this realm, and he goes, I can't stand realms. Screw realms. Realms should go to hell. What is that? What do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
And the ethos of that joke really is just like, as a viewer, I love characters. You know, I don't like to get caught up in semantics where it's just like, I'm from blah 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 and you're from this blah. It's like, I don't care about that stuff. I think what made Game of Thrones and a lot of these shows so popular is that you just fall in love with the families in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? You fall in love with the characters. So I love the characters of Harry Potter, Ron, Hermione, and Harry, and how they grow up and fall in love and all that sort of stuff. With this new thing, if they don't have, I don't know anything about the characters in that realm, so I don't know if I can get behind it. It's why I hate the prequels in Star Wars so much.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks is the most popular character. Get out of here. It's not even like a real, like, I'm not going to fall in love with a CGI character unless it's a fish and it's Finding Nemo. But I refuse to fall in love with their crappy Jar Jar Binks.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good comparison because, I mean, I think there is always that sense of, like, especially in the first one, I think especially in The Phantom Menace, where you're like, you feel removed, you feel so far removed from the Star Wars that you love.
Right.
But didn't they try to make you really care about little baby Darth Vader? Weren't they trying to make you really get into him?
They tried. I don't know if they succeeded.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much of that is the uphill battle? What Jay-Z always calls I'm fighting ghosts. Jay-Z always gets compared to Biggie and Pac, and he goes, I'm fighting ghosts. I'm fighting something from the past that I can't beat. Right. Time is moving forward and my art is moving forward. How much of that is that just an undeniable thing? Because there's so many kids that love the prequels. And am I just an old man that's hanging on to the past? Or is it just objectively a crappy movie and a movie that's not as good as the old?
You know, I mean, well, it's
a little from column A, a little from column B, probably.
Yeah, you know, well, I always, you know,
for myself, yeah.
One thing I've said, right, because they have this thing called Star Wars in machete order, which is a way to watch the films and not have them suck as badly, right? And what it involves is you watch what's the order, Brian? It's like you watch Star Wars, then Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and then Attack of the Clones, right?
Right. So from Empire Strikes Back, you go to Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith as if it's like a nested flashback. And then you watch Return of the Jedi. Right?
Okay.
Now that order is actually really cool. It's a neat way to watch the films, and it totally works. It works really well. But I call that, I don't call it machete order, I call it Star Wars with daddy issues. Because it's only us dads or us old people who are old enough to be dads who have that problem. Because my kids don't care about any of that.
Right.
Right? They're not like getting hung up on all the inconsistencies and how this sucks or whatever. They're just like, whatever, it's Star Wars, you know?
Interesting.
And I mean, in our Phantom Menace episode a few weeks ago, we talked about that, how like it's 15 years ago, you know? It's like there's a whole generation of kids this is their Star Wars, you know? So are they somehow wrong to like that more or equally? I don't think so. You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we may encounter something similar with this. What's this character's name? Newt Scamander?
Oh, yeah. Or at least that's, what is it?
Yeah,
the person who's supposed to, follows the adventures of Magazoologist? Newt Scamander?
Newt Scamander. So, I mean, this is like an extreme prequel that exists in that universe, but you're in the back of your mind, you'll be like, well, I want to know what they're doing over there, you know?
Well, but again, it's not a prequel because it doesn't take place in Harry Potter's reality. It's a story that exists within, like it's a book that Harry Potter could have tucked under his arm.
No, but it's a textbook though.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's like this guy's.
Oh, I see.
Right. So it would
okay. No, yeah, you're right. So it'd be sort of like if Jane Goodall wrote a book.
Right. Well, I think Jane Goodall has written a book.
She has written a book. So if you adapted a Jane Goodall book.
You're like, if Jane Goodall was real, and if she... Right? So Alfonso Cuaron, okay, so he's attached, so that makes it somewhat interesting. Now we do have some Star Wars news, but before we do that, we've got another Warner Brothers franchise to talk about, which is, of course, Superman versus Batman. We've been following the trail of that particular story, and this week we got our first look at the new Batman.
Yes.
Now, I want, before we get into it, I want to point out that I predicted exactly what this would look like.
Mm-hmm.
I said that it would not be armor; it would be something more akin to the comic book, and.
Well, it's not exactly what Sean thought, though, where he thought it was going to be the gray cloth sort of thing. That was his wishes. I don't know if that's necessarily what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So, a couple of things. First of all, Ben Affleck is impossibly ripped. He's a giant of a man there. Now, Brian, you are the Batman fan of note on this show. So, what do you think about the way he looks?
I thought it looked really cool. I mean, I didn't expect to see something so soon. You know, I mean, this movie isn't coming out till 2016. I thought they would hold off for a while, but then just out of the blue, there's...
Wow, it's not dropping till 2016.
Yeah, it's like a ways out.
Yeah, I mean, we 2 years. We're looking at 2 solid years.
Yeah, so to drop such a big breadcrumb was kind of a surprise.
It almost, when you look at the photo, it almost looks like a drawing. It almost looks CGI'd.
Kind of, it does, doesn't it? Yes, it does.
It does. Yeah. It's like black and white. It looks like it's a still from Arkham Asylum.
It totally does.
It looks like out of a video game. So that's the way when I saw it, where I was like, oh, it looks like a sketch. Like, is this a practical shot from the film? I don't know.
It's not from the film, but Snyder took it with his own handheld camera.
So it's like posed publicity still.
Yeah, that he shot.
Now, I got to be honest. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks really good.
I agree. Yeah, it doesn't look like any of the others. It's its own thing. I thought in between that and the Batmobile, it looks like the perfect marriage. Because after you have this Nolan trilogy that everybody, speaking of generations being attached to something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody now sees Batman as the Nolan Batman, or at least a large swath of people. So I thought this looked like the perfect marriage of the grounded Batman, but still a little bit of flash to it. Like, the Batmobile looked like it had a little bit of style. It wasn't just this practical utility vehicle. So it looks like
I had issues with the old Batmobile. People were like, "No, that's the way it would look." I'm like, to be honest, maybe because I'm a '90s baby, that looked like a Tyco tumbler, a black.
Yeah.
Like Mattel. They used to have this thing that could tumble and flip on itself, and I'm like, you just painted that matte black. I like this combination of it looks like a car with like the back fins, and it's kind of got that aerodynamic, cool look to it still, but it doesn't look like a RC, remote control car.
Right. Yeah. I was just at the they had a comic convention here in San Jose, and they had a Batman museum set up because in San Francisco they have the Museum of Comic Art, so they had a whole Batman thing, and they actually had I believe it was a replica or the surviving original of the 1960s Batmobile.
Cool.
From the Adam West TV show, and I was like, as I was looking at that, I was like, that will forever be like the Batmobile to me. Like,
oh, really?
You know what I mean? Well, that and the Anton Furst, the Michael Keaton Batmobile.
Yeah, that one's pretty cemented in my brain.
Man, you know what's so interesting is the backlash Michael Keaton faced when he got cast as Batman. And I gotta say, man, that was pretty rad. That was pretty rad that they did it. They stuck with him, and he pulled it off.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because just last week I was showing the movie Gung Ho to my students.
Oh wow.
And it's a really funny movie, and the movie ends, and I was like, you guys remember he was Batman, right? And most of these, like overwhelming majority, had no idea who Michael Keaton was.
Batman?
They didn't know who Michael Keaton was.
Oh wow. Well, he was.
By that.
He was such a huge star for this window,
Yeah.
But what? In comparison to someone, say, like Leonardo DiCaprio, who has been like a huge star since I would say 96, 97 to like now,
Yeah, right.
And so,
come on, you don't include the Growing Pains era,
No,
we can go back a little further back.
I include the Romeo and Juliet he did, which was rad. I still to this day think that Romeo and Juliet that he did with that Australian director was freaking awesome in '96.
Yeah.
And then of course the Titanic thing, and then till now, he's one of my favorite actors who has yet to win an Oscar, which blows my mind. It blows my mind. He's one of the most iconic, great. He has so many great performances. Like, there's so many movies he's awesome in. Okay, but anyways, back to what you were saying. It's so crazy the chance that Tim Burton took on him, because up to that point he was a comedic actor.
Right.
Michael Keaton was Beetlejuice, and people were like, "This guy's a comedic actor," and I find that to be so interesting because, being a comedian, I was like, what's the likelihood that a comedian outside of Jim Carrey has entered the realm of superheroes, and Jamie Foxx? It's a very tough task to fill and to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, here's what I think when we talk about Keaton as Batman. I mean, I think he turned out to be great, and I think he's probably in my mind like either the best or the second best of all the big screen Batmans that we've had. I think the reality is that I think the suit does most of the acting.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think
in all of the films, or in his in particular?
Well, certainly in the original series, in those first 4 movies.
Sure.
I think Keaton more so than the other two. Keaton more so than Kilmer and Clooney really benefited from the suit being what it was.
Right.
Because Keaton is he's a slight guy. He's got thinning hair. He doesn't really have a chin, But you put on that suit, and you don't have to do much. And I think, in all honesty, Keaton had, bar none, the best Batman voice.
Sure.
Out of all the live-action Batman,
Yeah.
And I think just to correlate it with this image of Affleck, I mean, I think Affleck is going to benefit because you look at that picture, he looks like Batman.
Yeah.
And that's better than 70% of the job right there. I mean, I think that this is, they said this is not about Batman, but I think Albert Broccoli said it about James Bond. He said that you don't have to be Laurence Olivier to play James Bond, but Olivier couldn't play James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Batman is kind of the same thing. It's like, well, you don't have to be, Gregory Peck to do it, but you have to be a decent actor and fit into within a certain barometer of how to act and look. And I think in that sense he'll surprise people. I've been feeling pretty strongly that I think a lot of people who are upset about it still, even now, are going to eat crow.
Yeah.
Now that being said. Again, I've been making this point a lot. All the hype in this, by the way, this sequel to Man of Steel is about everyone else in it but Superman.
Yeah.
Which is very aggravating to me. This past week, by the way.
Can I ask you guys a question? Did you fall in love with Superman when you watched Man of Steel? Did you fall in love with him?
So, do you mean the film or the character?
The character. Christopher Reeve, I think to this day, still, in terms of, not to get Hollywood, but when you test him on an audience, you're like, I love him.
Right.
And Superman, the character specifically, is such a character to me that just represents goodness through and through. Whereas Batman, even in the comic books, is always testing, is walking that line. Right. Is always willing to be like, do you trust humanity wholeheartedly? Is the glass half empty or is it half full? He walks that line. And then Dark Knight specifically, him and Joker have that dance where he's like, look, come on, you see the BS too. And what's great in the comic books, especially in the Dark Knight Returns, is Batman's exchange with Superman.
Right, which I think is the best part of it.
Amazing. He's like, you're too altruistic. He basically almost calls Clark Kent a tool. He's like, the government is using you. You don't, whatever. So what I mean by that is that, so Superman represents like this wholesome good. He should be the epitome of like love wholeheartedly. Right. It's not a Walter White type of character. Do you like him? Do you not like him? Superman, you gotta like him. And I'm saying since Christopher Reeve, I think there's yet to be a character that Superman that everybody unanimously loves across the board. And and not attached to him.
No,
I just wasn't that into him.
See, here's what I will say, and I think I said this when we first talked about Man of Steel. I agree that the film is polarizing, but I don't think you can point to Henry Cavill as being a flaw of the movie. Because
certainly not. But I don't know that he necessarily got into my heart either. I think is what.
Well, but I think the counterpoint to that is that Christopher Reeve is in our hearts because we literally came of age with him being really the only Superman, right? Even in the middle there was like Dean Cain or whatever, but effectively until Henry Cavill, because even when you think about it, Brandon Routh was playing Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Right. And they tried to cast it as such too.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's not necessarily a fair comparison. I think for me, I look at Henry Cavill in the suit, and he's the first Superman since Christopher Reeve where I look at and I say, I buy him as Superman.
Right.
And that's fully acknowledging. I mean, hey, the Superman the movie is like one of my top 2 of all time favorite movies. I love it. I love it with all of its flaws. I love it with an ending that makes no sense because you can't turn the world back and turn back time, But that's been my issue all along is I really don't like how Superman for this Superman sequel is being completely overtaken by every other like DC character ever, basically.
Yeah.
Hey, Cyborg is in this. I don't care.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had a little bit of a shock this past week, speaking of Superman, because my wife earlier in the week was she's ordering these capes for the boys, and she's like, oh yeah, he wants a Superman cape. What color is Superman's cape? Red or blue? And
wow.
I know, we've been married for 11 years now, and I'll be honest, if she had said I'm expecting again and it's not yours, I would have been less horrified. I would have been less horrified than her not knowing the color of Superman's cape.
Did you have
11 years of being?
Did you have your second drag of a cigarette in your life?
I just got up and I walked. I didn't say anything. I just walked to the car and started driving, and came back in the evening with my tears staining my cheeks. I don't understand how you can be married to me and not know Superman's cape. It is failure.
Okay.
It is failure. That's what I'm saying.
Can I pigeonhole one of the topics that we're going to talk about today? And Zaki, I want to know your perspective on it, please.
Yeah, let's hear.
So we're supposed to talk about the new trailer for The Flash.
Yes.
Okay. Came out. I saw it. I did not like the 15-second version where he jets across the screen and then he grabs the arrow. I was not a fan of that.
Right.
But my buddy, one of my really good friends, said you need to watch the 5-minute. They have this 5-minute almost like vignette. It's like a short film. It's a trailer, right? It's like just a longer trailer.
It's like a double trailer, basically.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that? Did that do it more justice?
Well, actually, before we get into it, why don't we go ahead and play some of the audio from that? This is the extended trailer for the CW's The Flash TV series. So let's go ahead and do that.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. A friend recently gave me the idea for a new name, and something tells me it's gonna catch on.
Take your own advice. Wear a mask.
Cool.
Okay, so I'll hold my thoughts. Brian, did you see the 5-minute trailer?
Actually, I was going to say I'll let you guys take this one because I have not seen it.
Did you see the short one?
No, I haven't seen either.
Are you any good at all, Brian? Okay, so it's funny because I was actually hoping Sean would be with us because Sean is a huge Flash fan, and I was really looking forward to getting his thoughts. But from my end, I'm a big fan of the Flash. I grew up with the Wally West version of the Flash, which if you read the comics, he was the second Flash, and he was in the comics for like 20 years. So that's my whole run. And then of course I watched the 1990s Flash TV series starring Dawson's dad. Which, I think that was his name in the credits. Will one day be Dawson's dad. I really like it. I think, I mean, it's I love Arrow. I love the Green Arrow show, and this is a spinoff of that, and it feels great to see a DC universe forming, even if it's only on the small screen for now. That's where I'm at.
That's cool. Okay. So I was talking with a buddy of mine, and the Flash, like the characteristics that he has, where he's kind of like this guy. Well, in one of the iterations in the comics, he was always like notoriously late, and then he's kind of just like kind of stumbling all over himself, kind of trying to figure out life, and then all of a sudden, he gets these powers where now he's always late. Now he moves faster than time or whatever, so to speak. But he was also witty and funny. And you're wearing this Green Lantern shirt, and it made me think. I've always thought that Ryan Reynolds, who played the Green Lantern in the film Green Lantern, would have been such a great Flash.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because the original plan in the early 2000s, I believe, they were going to make a Flash feature, and it was going to be directed by David Goyer. Yeah, so in fact, this would have been the mid-2000s, because David Goyer wrote and directed. He wrote all the Blade movies. He wrote and directed the third Blade, which, if you've seen that, first of all, if you've seen that, I'm sorry, because it's horrible. But it stars Ryan Reynolds, and so this would have been 2004, 2005. So it would have been probably just after Batman Begins, because Goyer wrote that, and the plan was he was going to write and direct a Flash movie starring your choice, Ryan Reynolds. That was the plan.
And Reynolds had signed on.
I don't know if he had signed on, but I mean he was Goyer's pick, and the assumption was that were the movie to go forward, it would have had Reynolds. And then I don't remember why it ended up running aground. Sorry, I just realized that's a terrible pun. But I don't know what happened with that. I don't know why they chose not to go forward. But as it turns out, Ryan Reynolds playing Green Lantern was not a good situation at all for anybody, because we're not talking about any Green Lantern sequels, and that movie's kind of a joke now. But yeah, I mean, honestly, he was the original person who they were touting, back in the mid 2000s. So there you go.
Just can't get a break, can he?
Well, it's really weird. Well, to be fair, the universe has given him both Scarlett Johansson and Blake Lively.
Yeah.
So if that's not getting a break, I will gladly take no breaks in life. Right?
What did you feel? It's so difficult. Like, as fans and fanboys, we can come in and criticize, these $300 million movies, but I've always found that, like, man, to execute something from comic book page to film, it's so difficult to do. I feel bad for Ryan Reynolds, because, I mean, what was it about Green Lantern where you feel like it just failed so miserably? What made it just go, wow, this was awful? Because I think this ties into Affleck with Batman. He did Daredevil, and it just was panned. How do we know, and what is it about? How much of that is, Ryan Reynolds? How much of that is the creative versus the creative direction? Because I'm optimistic about Affleck, even though Daredevil wasn't my cup of tea.
Right. Well, hey, Brian, let me ask you that, because I mean, you're not a fanatic. You're familiar with the tropes of comic books, but you're not. You don't have a lot of nostalgia invested in them, and you did see Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Why do you think that movie didn't work?
For several reasons, but one of them, and that's true, because I didn't grow up reading comics like you and Sean did, and so every now and then you'll give me comics to read, like, oh, you should check out this character, you'll check out that character, and then I read, I'm like, oh, I like this guy, I like that guy, but I never connected with Green Lantern very much, and I think it's because a lot of his story takes place in space with these really odd-looking creatures that, to me, I couldn't pick them out of a lineup once I closed the book. Like, they didn't, endear themselves to me. And so I think that combined with the film felt like it was put in a blender and then taped together and then put on the screen. Like it felt choppy. There was no propulsion to the story. The villain was sort of uninteresting and confusing by the end. You know what I mean? And it felt like as a story alone, it was just taped together, and so there was nothing for me to get invested in. But then on top of that, what is available to me is something in space with all these creatures that I can't wrap my head around or feel like attached to. There was just nothing for me to grab onto with that movie. I think, for me personally, that was the problem.
No, I think you're right. What I remember. My response to the Green Lantern movie was, first of all, I for a good 15 years, 10, 15 years, I bought the Green Lantern comics, and I was a huge fan. I still am of the comics, and all that time I'd be like, wait, you know what they need to make into a movie? Green Lantern. Like, I would tell people, like, it's Batman, wait till Green Lantern, and then the movie comes out, and I was like, oh, damn it, because it was so bad.
Yeah.
But I think, Brian, you hit on it. I think the problem is that the concept is inherently difficult to sell to somebody who isn't familiar with the tropes of that universe.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's a difficult character to get behind. But then how does something like Thor and Captain America work? How do I rally for Thor? I have no connection to a Greek god that is kicked out of his universe and sent to Earth. Like, it just doesn't.
That's just funny though, because I totally get what you're saying, but I do, because he was like this brat in space, but like I was able to like, okay, so he's got this punk, he's got this brother, he's got this dad that, and with the gravitas of Anthony Hopkins, you don't want to displease, and then he's put to Earth and he's sort of humbled and he meets these people and he's got no powers anymore, and like loses his hammer. It's like that's an arc, that's a journey. Like, I can't even tell you what Green Lantern's arc was in his movie. I don't remember. You
know what though? Here's what it is. I think it becomes a lot clearer when you do a 1-to-1 comparison of Iron Man and Green Lantern, of the two movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they are both telling what is essentially the same story, but one does it very organically, and one does it like a Mad Lib story.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both, it's Iron Man and Green Lantern. We both start with an arrogant hero who's put in a situation where he's humbled, and he has to redeem himself, and then he finds redemption through his heroic identity, and blah 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 blah. Right? But everything that works about Iron Man does not work about Green Lantern, and I think part of it is the story, part of it is the acting, part of it is the script. I mean, it's just one of those things where all the pieces are there. Green Lantern, all the pieces are there. I think it's got a great cast. I think it's the director. It's Martin Campbell. He's a good director.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's just not a good movie. I mean, who knows? I can't sit through it. And I own the 1990 Captain America on Blu-ray. That's hey, I wear that with a badge of honor. But Green Lantern, I don't know. It's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
Got it.
But the Flash looks better. So the TV show.
Can I say one thing? I think, and I don't know if this is me just getting older, but I do feel like less is more. In other words, like a lot of these movies, when they'll just get too crazy in CGI-ville, I just don't care anymore. And even though it's visually stunning, I'm like, it doesn't really do it for me. One of the coolest things that I like when I watch The Walking Dead is that there's those episodes where you maybe see a zombie 2, 3, 4 times, and that's it. Yeah. And the rest of it is about the characters trying to navigate how do we walk this line as the Earth is being destroyed behind us and everything we love is being destroyed behind us. I do feel like less is more.
Well, and I think
lost.
Well, and I think you make a great point, because using Walking Dead as an example, it's because they use the spectacle and the scope so sparingly that when we get that shot of the horde of zombies or whatever, that's crap your pants shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
and obviously that's actually a good segue point. You guys want to segue into the spoiler portion of the show?
Sure. Do it.
All right, so of course our focus for this week is of course Godzilla, which is all about more is more. And I figured before we get into spoilers, why don't we go through and kind of give our general impressions, and then we can get into the specifics of it. So Hasan, you are our guest. Have you had a chance to see Godzilla?
I have not gotten a chance to see Godzilla.
Okay, well we're about to spoil it for you.
Okay. I do what I do usually with these movies is I get a general assessment from friends, and then I like to go. So I have no problems with spoilers.
Okay. Well, that's good news. So let's first, Brian, why don't you get your non-spoiler response out of the way, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. This has been really interesting because I had no idea until leading up to this movie coming out that so many people were so endeared to Godzilla. Like, I've actually never seen the original, and I'm obviously familiar with him, but so many people on Facebook are really passionate about that character. I had no clue, really, and have very strong opinions about how his movie should be, and so anyway, then when the movie came out, it was really interesting because it was so down the middle how people felt about it. People either really rallied against it, hating it. I had someone on my Facebook today just said, let me do you a favor, don't go see Godzilla. And wow. Yeah, and then on the other hand, I read these reviews and people are very positive on it. I think AV Club gave it like a B+ or something, which is really good for them.
Well, and on Salon, they said it's the best action movie since Jaws.
Wow.
Which seems excessive to me to say
well,
that.
It's so polarizing. So I will say in the non-spoilery way that I am on the side of positive. I enjoyed this movie. Okay. And I think I enjoyed it more than most people that I know, apparently. So
okay.
Yeah, I found it to be... we talk about this a lot, but the Christopher Nolanization of movies these days, where you can't just have something fantastic happen; like it has to happen in the most grounded way possible. I feel like that's this version of Godzilla, and I don't feel like every movie needs to be that way personally, but I did enjoy this grounded look at the story of Godzilla. So,
okay. So that's your non-spoiler response?
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it now a little bit. Now before we talk about the new one, I think it's worth mentioning the craptastic previous Godzilla, which is pretty much synonymous with just horrible and evil and repulsive. You just say, oh.
With Ferris Bueller?
It's the 98 Godzilla is I think before The Phantom Menace was my first encounter with Hollywood lying to me.
Sure.
Where I had a year worth or 2 years worth of hype. Of course this was going to be just amazing. How could it not? And then I went there opening night and it was, it was terrible. And I mentioned this in my review. This is true. It was such a bad movie that afterwards I went into the parking lot and I bummed a cigarette from a friend, and I took the first and last ever drag of a cigarette in my life after Godzilla. That's how bad that movie was.
Dude, when I read your review, that made me laugh so hard. I texted you before I even moved on from that sentence.
I needed a carcinogen to make the bad feeling from the 98 Godzilla leave me. And so I didn't revisit it since. I watched it again about a week ago.
By the way, the anger of going to the movie theater and seeing a bad movie is a level of anger that you can't compare to the rental experience where you're at home. Because then you can literally pull out your cell phone, you can just walk into the kitchen, you can take breaks. But when the movie is bad and you're in the theaters, you're just like, you held me hostage. And you took $15.
Yeah, you robbed me. Yeah.
And you robbed me. At least when they take you hostage in a hostage situation, they don't touch your wallet. You're just held hostage. Take your time and maybe your life. But they also take your money, and that's just really annoying.
Yeah.
Well, and it's always that question of do I get up and leave? And it's this battle of wills where you're like, if I get up and leave, I'm letting the movie win.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked out of a movie?
I've walked out of one movie in my life, and
Okay.
it was called Where the Heart Is with. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman starred in it, and it was I couldn't handle it. I was like, I need to leave right now. It was that bad. She gives birth in a Walmart.
Yeah. You want to know a funny story about that real fast?
I see the look on Hassan's face.
It was
like,
an
why
Oprah
did you
Book
see
of the
this?
Month thing. That's where that came from. And at one time I was visiting home. I think I was like home on summer break from college, and my mom had the book. And there was like one night, like a week, and I had like nothing going on. Everybody was in bed, and so I just picked it up, and I actually read the whole book.
Oh, you poor bastard. Was it good?
I don't remember, but I just remember reading it, and so I know what that movie is.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What have you guys walked out of?
I'm too Indian to walk out of anything. I mean, they have my money. I can't do it. I just can't.
It's a little similar because even if I hate something, I'm like, well, where the hell is this going? You know what I mean? Like I have this like completist sort of thing. I have to finish things to the end. So, Transformers 2 was the closest I almost.
Oh, that was bad. That was just bad.
Yeah.
What I will do is I won't walk out, but I will fall asleep, and I have fallen asleep in a lot of movies.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I do that a lot. As I get older, both Hobbit movies were nap time for me, so we've already established that.
Yeah.
There's just lots of walking. I don't miss anything.
Let me ask you this about the Godzilla movie. One of my best friends, who also believes less is more, said this as a criticism. He said, I wanted to see more Godzilla.
Well, this is a good talking point here. That's probably the main criticism of the film.
That's the main criticism, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to buck the trend here, and I'm going to say I actually don't have that criticism.
Interesting.
Because I think the way in which Godzilla is utilized is effective. I think that what Gareth Edwards does as a director that is and is not effective is that he cuts around the action.
Yeah.
So he does this cutesy thing where like we get our first reveal of Godzilla, like we're panning up his body and then he cuts away just before we see his face. Or we finally see Godzilla and he's squaring off with the evil monster. They are about to grapple and then we cut away to a TV screen where we're seeing them fighting in the background. Right? And
so it's the constant tease.
Yeah, I mean he does this maybe 3 times in the movie and I feel like once would have been enough.
Right.
That's the kind of thing I didn't like, but I don't think my problem on it, here's what I'm going to say. I don't think it needed more Godzilla. I think it needed more Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
And so since we are now in the spoiler portion, it's worth pointing out, if you watch the trailers, you will be under the assumption that Bryan Cranston is the main character in this movie.
Yes.
Right? And he absolutely is not because he dies about half an hour in.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. So that is kind of a big spoiler.
Okay.
And you know the way it's structured, his son, who's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is the main character. Now I don't have a problem with Aaron Taylor Johnson, but he's not Bryan Cranston.
No.
Right? And
not by a long shot.
Not by a long shot. And so it's really odd to me because now Brian, you tell me if you had this impression, because Brian, you just got out of this movie like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
So it is fresh in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like it should have occurred to them, like people are going to be upset that Bryan Cranston is dead. We should fix that.
I bet that's something that hit them later on. I mean, when you're making it, this happens at a lot of films. You bring in like the prestige actor, and they're only in the first act, and they get the film going, and then you move forward.
Yeah.
But I think it was pretty apparent he was wearing a wig.
Okay.
During the movie.
Oh, okay,
and
sure.
So it occurred to me, I was like, oh, this must have happened pretty fresh before Breaking Bad ended, or right around when it ended. He probably still had his head shaved or something. And I don't know. They probably underestimated America's love for Bryan Cranston.
I mean, I know of people who told me, like, I went for Bryan Cranston.
Right.
And I was disappointed. And it's weird because it feels like a a problem that could have been licked in rewrites. And this is my reaction. You tell me if you felt this. In terms of the human story, we have Aaron Taylor Johnson is trying to get back to his wife, who's played by Elizabeth Olsen, and his son, who's played by generic child actor number 7. I don't know who he is. And this is all after Cranston has died, because in the first act we reveal they're called the MUTOs, which stands for Massive Unidentified Terrestrial Organisms, and there's 2 of these guys. They're the villains. So they're revealed in the subsequent sort of collapse of the nuclear facility. Bryan Cranston's character is killed, or rather, he's severely wounded, and then later on he dies off camera.
No, he's on camera.
Well, not his actual death.
Well, not his actual critical injury. No.
Right. Well, and I mean that just seems odd to me, right? Because it's at least he's at least important enough that we should get that. But my point is, I feel like if the story had been structured where it's the father and the son trying to reunite, it would have made for a stronger emotional arc than the husband trying to return to the wife. You tell me. What do you think?
I don't think you're wrong. I think what could have fixed this without doing that is, honestly, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I feel, some people take something that's barely there on the page and then they just bring it. You know what I mean? Picture Leonardo DiCaprio playing the exact same role.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He inevitably brings something extra because we know who he is and we like him and whatever. And I felt like this kid was kind of a blank slate.
Okay.
Throughout most of the movie, and he did some really interesting things. Like there's a kid that gets abandoned by his family, and he kind of takes care of the kid for a little bit. And
well, not abandoned. He gets separated.
No, I'm sorry, not abandoned. Separated. And it was like I didn't feel what I know they wanted me to feel in that moment. And I feel like with an actor, just one of those guys that just has it, quote unquote. I think I might have felt a little bit more probably throughout the whole thing. I feel like. This is a big complaint for a lot of people is, the characters. This movie, out of a 2-hour movie, 90% of it is character, not Godzilla.
Right.
And so I think if I could do anything in this movie, I would have recast the lead guy and not even changed a whole lot about his story, but recast the guy, and I would have had a much stronger scene between him and his wife at the beginning, so I cared for him to get back to her.
Okay.
But that aside, I didn't mind that the movie was 90% character, because my brother and I were talking about this several times throughout this movie. We were like, this director, this guy he's got it. This guy is going to be a big director, because I've heard a lot of other reviews compare him to, not directly to Spielberg, but his style is very Spielbergian, let's say. And I think he absolutely is, and in the best way possible. I mean, he really knows how to narratively use visuals and show things in an interesting way, and there's a lot of style in the things that he chooses to show you in camera. And this is a man on the ground movie. We're not following Godzilla. We're not up in the air on his level. We're following people, seeing him move behind buildings. We're seeing him from way down looking up. And this is about a guy trying to get to his family who crosses paths with Godzilla several times. So I actually really enjoyed that take.
I think once we get Godzilla, it's really good. Like the stuff, I mentioned this to you before, Brian, how when I first saw it, I was more meh. And then as time went by, my sort of ranking, my grade went up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like certain sequences really stuck out. And, the when we first are introduced to Godzilla, when he makes landfall in Hawaii, it's this fantastic sequence.
It's so great, and it's not like, okay, and then he comes out of the water and then he steps in the thing. It's like no. It's like we know he's coming, and then we cut to like a luau, and you're like uh-oh. And then all these people are like hanging out, and like, we got our hero and he's on this like little tram, and then all of a sudden fighter jets go through the air, and it's a little like disconcerting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it just really doles it out in these really cool, interesting, realistic settings.
Yeah.
The fantasy slowly trickles in and it starts to make you uncomfortable.
I gotta watch this. Sounds great. This sounds great.
I dug the take, yeah.
I mean, I think that's really the key. Like go in with expectations moderated, but I think what you're going to get are some really terrific, not even action sequences, but just sequences in general. Like a real, there's the what we were just talking about in Hawaii, but like even Godzilla shows up at the Golden Gate Bridge, and the way that all plays out. I mean, it's really, my reaction, because I've seen it twice now, because the second time I took my oldest, he's 7, and honestly, part of the fun for me the second time was just seeing it with him and seeing it through him.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie for 7-year-old boys.
But you know what? This is interesting that you said comparing it to Jaws. Not you, but the other reviewer. Because it is a lot like Jaws when you think about it. Like, Jaws is like, the shark is like 90 minutes into the movie.
Yep.
Almost. And it's really about this whole episode on the beach, like an hour about this town. And then it's about chasing it down, and then it's about crossing paths, and we only get glimpses. And I rewatched it within the past year, Jaws, and it's so different than blockbusters now. It really takes a lot of patience, honestly.
Yeah. I actually just watched it a few weeks ago in one of my classes.
Does it hold? Does it hold up?
It always holds up, yeah.
Well, it holds up as a film, but as a blockbuster,
no.
I would say it would lose a lot of people's the way they've been conditioned now.
Well, now, because you're like, oh, it's about a shark. Is it a cyborg shark? Is it does the shark shoot lasers?
Or when is the shark
a tornado shark?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? This movie is like Jaws, and I think maybe that's why some people, they're conditioned. And again, that's no slam against them, because that's what you expect. You go to this movie to see smashy, and it withholds it for a while.
But you know, let me ask you something, because I think this leads into one of my questions I had. Obviously, because the big complaint, which I don't necessarily agree with, there's not enough Godzilla. I'm kind of like, once Godzilla shows up, things are gonna go, in a pretty set. Like, there aren't a lot of surprises once Godzilla shows up in any story. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So in that sense, I don't know that more is necessarily better, but more specifically, I'm wondering, where do you go next? Because I'm kind of like, I feel like we've gotten the big budget Godzilla movie, and there's really nowhere to go from here.
Yeah, and the sequel has already been announced.
That's okay, and I think that's okay.
Well, I agree, but
so much of Hollywood is like, and now what are we going to do? No. Enjoy it for what it was.
Well, I agree with that, but we know they're going to make another one.
First weekend. $93 million. That was just under Captain America. Like it made a Marvel movie money in its opening
Marvel movie money. Is that a thing now, Marvel movie money?
Wasn't it expected to, though? It's a $300 million movie, right?
No. But actually, it surpassed expectations, because they were expecting like a $60 million opening. So that
trailer was great, man.
It really was.
A great trailer.
Yeah, they did their job. Like, this is gonna surpass the gross of the '98 Godzilla by next week.
Wow.
Which is bonkers. But so obviously there's gonna be a sequel, and that's my question. Like, well, I feel like would I watch a sequel? Obviously we do the show, so yes, probably. Am I interested in a sequel? I don't know.
If Gareth Edwards makes it, I am.
But don't we pretty much know what Gareth Edwards is going to do?
Yeah, but you know what? Off air, we were talking about this movie, and you were saying, you had this initial impression of it, but then you started remembering all these images from it.
Yeah.
And so, you can have story nitpicks and whatever, but as a film experience, there are so many images that are like in my brain now from this movie. Like when the soldiers are jumping out of the plane, and they play this almost like creepy Kubrick kind of like.
I feel like it's from 2001. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like these, and it's just this image of this real long shot of San Francisco and like the clouds and the dust from the monsters, and then these like 6 paratroopers slowly coming down with their red smoke, leaving these trails in the sky. And I looked at my brother in that moment. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, he makes so many visual impressions throughout this movie that I wouldn't mind seeing more visual impressions from him.
Okay.
If he wants to make another Godzilla movie, I'll see it, sure.
Now we were talking about this earlier. Monsters, which is his previous film.
Yeah.
What do you see a lot of connective tissue between that one and this one?
Definitely. I mean, that's a movie about these guys that are trying to make trek through. Monsters have taken over. I can't remember if they explain why, but it's sort of like they just live in this reality. Like there are monsters, we need to avoid them, and they're trying to go from A to B. And as they do, they're basically trying to avoid them. But with its budget constraints, they don't always show you the big picture. You're just sort of following them on the ground, navigating, trying to avoid these creatures. And I felt like that's exactly what this movie is. Except they can show greater destruction, and they can show, and then at the end there's like this massive
You've
fight.
got a few more bucks to show giant monsters.
Yeah.
Doing their thing. Yeah. I mean, again, I want to go back to what my kid, it ended, and he said, I liked it as much as I liked Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park is his favorite movie. So
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily make that comparison, but I think I go back to the idea that for a kid, this is a great experience, So I think that says something, to be honest. I think people who are like impatient about Godzilla showing up, it's like, I think you should let the movie happen, is what I would say.
I would say give it another shot, knowing what it is, and see if you enjoy it, because you probably will.
You guys, I gotta head out, but I want to ask you guys a couple questions.
Okay.
I'd love to know, with the advent of Redbox and DVRing and all that sort of stuff, do you still enjoy going to the movie theater?
Yes.
Or do you enjoy watching it at home, turning the lights down, eating the food that you want to eat, taking your shoes off, twiddling your toes in the carpet, blasting the AC and watching it on your smart TV with the sound bar blowing? Like, you know what I mean? It's a different experience, but what has Redbox and all these different things, has it made that experience of going to the theaters less fun? Do you still enjoy going to the movies? Do you prefer watching it at home? How has it affected the movie-going experience for you? Brian?
As short as answer as possible as I can say is the theater will always be my first choice.
Yeah.
I thought of it while I was watching Godzilla, because I was like, this is just so immersive, and it's so massive, and it's so loud. I mean, this is the way to see it. I think even smaller movies, I mean, that's just, your attention is just completely undivided. I think the only time I prefer it at home is maybe a movie that I care less about, that I don't want to risk spending $16 on at an ArcLight. Like 300, the 300 sequel. Like, I just didn't care enough. I was like, I don't know. Some friends were kind of interested, and I was like, you know what? If it was on DVD or if it was on demand, I'd maybe watch it with you here, but I'm not going to drop $16 for it. So things that I'm not that interested in, I'm not willing to take risks anymore for the theater. But things that I do want to see, I would always prefer the immersive theater experience.
Okay. So Godzilla's a huge action movie. It's like a Gravity. Yeah. It's a big film. Mm-hmm. What about stuff like, this is on the other side of the spectrum, 12 Years a Slave, Fruitvale Station, dramas, things that are more, performance-driven. They're not in space. They're not, Decepticons fighting Autobots.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I saw Safety Not Guaranteed in the theater, and I feel like you just get more lost in that world. And again, there's no distractions.
Yeah.
You can't get distracted by, I could go get something out of the fridge right now. Like, you're forced to pay attention. I think you pick up on things and get more emotionally invested, inevitably, in movies, in the theater. So I would say same for me. Zaki?
Yeah, well, I have a slightly different perspective because, number one, I don't pay for most movies that I watch. I go to the press screenings, and what I've found is that by virtue of that, I end up watching more films, and also by virtue of having, a menagerie in my house, I don't get to watch movies at home all the way through. Right? I mean, my wife and I, we watched Jaws. She hadn't seen Jaws before. We just watched it a few months ago. And it took us, I'm not joking, a week.
Right.
In 20-minute increments. It was like watching an episode of The Office every day. That was Jaws for us, So for me, there's, Brian, you use the term immersive. I mean, that's really like going to the theater. I get to just let it wash over me.
Right.
As opposed to squeezing it in whenever I can. So I mean, yeah, I don't think the theatrical experience will ever go away. I think it'll change. I think we're seeing that with IMAX and 3D and all that stuff. But I think there's still I think going to the theater is an active experience. Right. It's a social experience. I mean, there's all these dimensions, whereas watching at home, it's passive. If that makes any sense, So yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. Like I wouldn't ever want the theatrical experience to go away. What do you think, Hasan?
Yeah.
I think I'd agree. With that. I'd agree with that. I do kind of feel it's an amazing time, but I feel like there's so much stuff, nothing has any value anymore.
I agree with that.
I remember in 1996 when Independence Day came out, it was a huge deal. July 4th, I'm going to holiday cinemas. Me and my friends are going. And now there's such a race between so much media. You can get it on your tablet. You can watch it on your MacBook. You can watch it in a library. You can watch it in a web browser. You go to voodoo.com/illegally downloaded movies. It doesn't have that value anymore. And there's so much. There's such a dearth, a plethora, from Game of Thrones to even like niche stuff where people are like, have you seen Luther? I'm like, dude, I can't even get to Idris Elba's Luther when I got to watch Game of Thrones. I got to watch Dexter. I got to watch and there's 9 seasons of that. Plus movies, and you'll have rivaling action movies now. It's not just like one movie for everyone to enjoy. Remember Jurassic Park in 1993? It was like the movie for 20 weeks. It's just the movie, Yeah. And it is an amazing time that we live in, but I do kind of miss that notion of, man, like, stuff doesn't have its it's just not as valuable anymore because there's not a scarcity of it, and I kind of miss that a little bit.
No, I mean, I think that's true. Yeah, I mean, and that's the reason that the theatrical experience, they keep trying to jack it up. They keep trying to boost it with steroids, with all the 3D and all that. And I that doesn't really work for me because I feel
for me no. But Kanye West had this great interview where he's been going on. He always goes on these crazy rants. But I do think that if you just dilute him down, my mom used to do this with Sunny Delight. She thought that it was way too strong, so she put a little bit of water in it. Right. And maybe that's just a cheap mom thing, Indian mom thing, or like there's just too much sugar in this. It's straight up cough syrup. Let's have this be more like juice.
Right.
But if you dilute down Kanye's rants, in not only in volume and tone, but in message, just like, hey, turn it down from an 11 to a 7, Kanye, and then we'll all be on board. He had this great thing about how he feels like he's not being allowed to get into fashion. They go, why are you obsessing about fashion? You're a huge musician. And he said, man, I'm a product guy, and all that matters now is product. If I were to give everybody here at a concert a copy of the Yeezus album, they'd be like, what? But if I gave them all pairs of Yeezys, the Nike sneakers, people would lose their minds. And what he's trying to say is the intrinsic value of the album, it means nothing because you can download it from rapidshare.com or BitTorrent. It means nothing. And yet it's this huge thing, and he scored, and he spends months going in the booth and writing, and there's a guy on a violin, and all it is a .zip file to some kid.
Right.
But physically holding that Xbox 360, waiting in line and holding that sneaker in your hand.
Right.
It's so much. You can't get around that to this day. You still, maybe with 3D printing one day, you'll be able to just 3D print anything and be like, I have it all.
Yeah.
But product still means everything. So making film giving it that feel of product, I think that's what they're trying to do, to make people line up and camp out and feel like they were a part of something.
Right.
But you know what, though? You know what I would argue is a memorable theatrical experience is something that has more intrinsic value than a memorable home viewing experience.
True.
Right? Because like you're talking about, right? Like you remember to this day going to see Independence Day opening day.
Yeah.
You remember it. You remember seeing Jurassic Park in the theater. And I feel like, we don't remember in the same way, like, oh, remember when we watched, X movie on VHS? Like, it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that sort of underscores what we're talking about, right? There's something about a memorable theatrical experience that is as much of a part of our sense memory as, you know, hearing a song and it just takes you back to where you were when you first heard it.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know. I think that's a good place to leave our conversation, though. Godzilla gets a recommendation from me and Brian. Not perfect, but I think worth seeing. Hasan has not seen it, but hopefully he will be interested in seeing it based on this conversation.
I will see it.
Now, Hasan, where can people find you online?
Twitter at Hasan Minhaj, HasanMinhaj.com. And please check out the documentary Standup Planet. It is streaming for everybody to see at standupplanet.org. Let's change the world one joke at a time, or at least try to a little bit.
Awesome. And yeah, we're very glad you were able to join us because I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. So hopefully this will be the first of many return visits that you pay us.
All right.
Well, Hasan, I know you got to take off, so we'll bid you adieu.
Okay. Bye, you guys.
Take care, man.
Take care. Brian, where can people find you?
At everythingbrian.blogspot.com, and I'll just beat you to it at everythingbrian on Twitter.
And how's your tweet life going?
It's a ghost town over there. There's like one guy on a harmonica singing a sad song.
I think the goal I set in front of you, Brian, was like, I want you to give me one memorable tweet a week. I think that was the goal.
That's true. That is true.
And you failed that goal swimmingly. So
I got it. Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna have to take seriously if I'm ever gonna do it. Like, all right, I'm gonna make sure I make this worth people actually checking out, and then people will check it out. But yeah, so far
it's full of fail.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, regardless, you can find me on Twitter at Zaki's Corner, at ZAKIS Corner, and also at ZakisCorner.com, that's ZAKIScorner.com, also at the Huffington Post, where my film reviews go up regularly. As far as reaching us here about the Movie Film Podcast, you can email us, moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also write us a review on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. As I say each and every week, please do that. Please let us know how we're doing. We are always engaged in wanting to make this the best show possible, so the more you can do that, the better we can make this for you. And thanks for listening. We had a great chat today, but next time we have X-Men Days of Future Past to discuss. Yes. And we're crossing our fingers that Sean Coyle will be able to join us next time. But either way, thank you for listening. This is the Movie Film Podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Welcome, friends. It's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zach and Sean and Ryan are talking about movies.